A grand house, lit from within, stands as a monument to a life that once was. Below, figures move around the entrance, but one woman stands alone on a balcony, observing. She used to think the world was magic. It was a time when her life felt like one long, never-ending celebration, called to her, pulling her away from the quiet night and back into the warmth. Her parents gave her everything she could ever want, a necklace offered with a smile. She never questioned where it all came from. She was simply happy, secure in their embrace. She adored them, so much so that she couldn't see who they truly were. Not until the fire took hold, tearing through the illusion with a violent crackle. The world had turned to ash in an instant. What she hadn't seen then were the enemies, the threats that had always surrounded her parents. They fought back, guns in hand, as their world burned around them. Amidst the chaos, a man in a tuxedo, gun drawn, gave Bremerton a command: protect the child. Bremerton carried young Davina away from the flames, away from her parents. Left alone in the ruins, Davina watched a distant horizon, her world shattered. Bremerton found her there, offering comfort and a steady hand. She knelt, looking Davina in the eye, and began to lay the foundation for a new purpose. Davina would learn to be strong, not just for herself, but to protect others. It was a lesson Bremerton herself understood deeply. Bremerton offered to teach her how to protect children like Davina had once been. Davina looked out at the broken world, the words resonating with a new meaning. She would learn. She needed to. Her resolve, clear and unwavering, settled with the weight of a pendant around her neck. 8 years pass quickly enough when you're building something new. This grand building became the elite Nanny Academy, the center of Davina's new world. Bremerton raised her, trained her, and shaped her with a disciplined hand, a constant presence through those years. Now, the once butler stands as the Academy's head mistress, carrying the weight of its legacy and its future. Davina, finally, is ready. Her training complete, her resolve firm, she stands prepared for her first assignment. In the headmistress's office, Bremerton considers the terms of a new client's offer. It's a generous proposal, lucrative enough for Bremerton to offer one of her most seasoned nannies, a decade of experience behind them. But Mr. Angelini cuts her off. He requires exclusivity, untouched by other assignments. His relaxed posture masks a demanding will. Bremerton presents the only candidates who fit such a specific requirement. Her most recent graduates, all awaiting their first post. Angelini remains unconvinced, his gaze sharp with skepticism. The headmistress, composed, begins to detail the Academy's rigorous curriculum, ensuring him of their qualifications. It begins with the foundational elements: early childhood development, psychology, then the critical life-saving skills, like first aid. But the Academy's training extends far beyond the conventional, preparing them for threats few nannies would ever face. They learn to navigate danger, to control chaos, even behind the wheel. And in the quiet glow of monitors, they master the intricacies of digital defense. After listing the full breadth of the ENA program, Bremerton finally asks the question that's been lingering. Why does he need such an elite nanny? Angelini pauses, a thoughtful, almost amused expression on his face, before offering an answer. 2 weeks earlier, another conversation had unfolded. Mr. Angelini, calm and composed, sits across from a man at a bar, a handgun between them. The man tries to explain, to plead his case, but Angelini already knows what he needs to. The panicked man offers to work something out, anything. Angelini's demands are simple and absolute: all the books and a bill that will be paid. Mr. Angelini leans in, pressing his terms, and the man quickly concedes. Then Mr. Angelini adds a final, unusual demand: a future favor and a carton of milk. The source of the strange request makes himself known: a young boy, Mikey, sitting quietly at the bar, clarifying his preference for chocolate. The man can only stare, completely thrown by the child's sudden appearance. Mr. Angelini, with a hint of exasperation, doubles the man's debt for questioning his son. Mikey, however, is not to be trifled with, reminding his father of their operational aliases and asserting his own demands. Lost in the bizarre family dynamic, The man hesitantly offers the milk he now holds. Father and son disagree instantly. Mr. Angelini wanting the milk, Mikey rejecting it. Mr. Angelini decides it is time to leave, still lamenting his lost milk as he carries Mikey out. The scene shifts back to Mr. Angelini explaining to Bremerton that his company, whatever it is, doesn't offer childcare. Bremerton, ever professional, assures him of her academy's top candidates and asks for specifics. Mr. Angelini considers his options. He points to one name on the desk, Davina. Bremerton questions his choice, noting Davina's specialty in cybersecurity, a skill Mr. Angelini claims not to need. She tries to offer other highly skilled candidates, one fluent in Italian, another in defensive combat, but he dismisses them all. His decision is final. He wants Davina. Bremerton looks down, a somber, pained expression on her face. This choice, she knows, is a heavy one. Her thoughts become a silent apology. Davina stands in a doorway, ready for her first assignment, as Bremerton's words of encouragement and warning follow her into the light. Davina's hand finds the pendant around her neck, a quiet anchor as Bremerton's words about a child needing protection echo. She steps into the light of Bremerton's office, ready to receive her first task. Bremerton doesn't waste time, presenting the assignment that has finally come. Davina's resolve hardens. She has waited for this moment since the beginning. But Bremerton's expression is grave. She would never have chosen this assignment for Davina. Davina was hand-selected. The client, Bremerton reveals, is Gabriel Angelini. That name, she knew it. The headlines, the burning images, all rush back. It's the Angelini Mafia. Her hands tremble with the realization. Bremerton urges her to refuse, but Davina struggles. How could she refuse her first assignment after all the training? The name echoes in her mind, Angelini. A raw, hidden grief surfaces, the question of why, hanging in the dark. She clutches the document, a flicker of hope igniting amidst the despair. This could be her chance for answers. Bremerton's voice from the past, reminding her of the strength forged in fire. Davina lifts her head, the decision made. She will take the assignment. Bremerton presses, questioning her motives, but Davina is firm. Her past is exactly why she must do this. If this man, this Angelini, has a child, then that child needs protection. It is, after all, what she was trained for. And if, in protecting that child, she could finally uncover the truth of what happened that day, that would be even better. The contract is signed, sealed, and delivered. Bremerton already knows what this means for Davina. Davina arrives, suitcase in hand, ready for her first assignment. Bremerton watches her approach. Then the introduction. Mr. Gabriel Angelini. Davina had only heard the name. Now she sees him. He doesn't address her directly, instead asking Bremerton if she's capable of speech. A complete jerk, but Davina quickly composes herself, extending a hand to introduce herself formally. He accepts the introduction with a knowing smirk. Then he turns, leaving Davina with a final instruction. Bremerton reminds Davina of the Academy's unwavering orders. Protect, obey, anticipate. No revealing secrets, no embarrassment, no shirking, no sabotage. The rule that matters most, no romance. Davina understands. She vows to make Bremerton proud. Bremerton already trusts her completely. A new face approaches with her suitcase, introducing himself as Adam. He leans in with a final piece of advice. Don't let him scare you, Adam says, referring to Mikey. He is only 4. Davina steps into the car, carrying those words with her. Davina climbs into the back seat, surprised to find not one, but 2 passengers already waiting. She turns to the young boy, recognizing him instantly. Mr. Angelini, the man beside him, confirms her guess, placing a hand on the boy's head as he introduces himself as Michelle, and his son as Mikey. Davina offers a warm smile and reaches for Mikey's hand, introducing herself as his new nanny. Mikey, however, leans into his father, whispering his immediate verdict. Davina smells like oranges, and he doesn't trust her. Davina instinctively sniffs her own collar, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. She moves past the comment, pulling her laptop from her bag to refocus on the journey. Mikey answers, his voice sullen, describing their destination as a big, ugly mansion in a city of peasants. Mr. Angelini provides the practical details. They have relocated from Venice to Lyon. Davina notes the distance, then offers access to the car's Wi-Fi, laptop open. She points out the car's network is unsecured. A sudden click of the door lock draws Davina's attention. Mr. Angelini explains it's a safety measure. They never drive with unlocked doors. Davina counters, reaching for the door panel switch to unlock them, citing accident safety. Before her fingers can reach it, Mr. Angelini's hand clamps down on her wrist. He leans in, voice low, explaining the more immediate threat, snatching Mikey at a stoplight. She looks away, a flush rising in her cheeks. His word is law here. Mikey, seeing the moment, leans into his father, whispering his earlier observation about Davina's orange scent. Davina stares at her laptop, eyes narrowed. He preaches safety, yet leaves his network wide open. She begins to type rapidly on the laptop, her fingers flying across the keys, drawing Mikey's curious gaze. Suddenly, a loud thud rattles the car as the door panel slams shut, startling the driver, who glances back with a question. Mr. Angelini watches her, dismissing the driver's concern with a quiet observation that Davina is tricky. She presses one last key, and the dashboard flashes with an alert. Then she looks up, meeting his gaze directly. The car pulls through an open gate, revealing the sprawling Angelini annex. Mikey, already out of the car, gestures toward the mansion, telling her he'll handle her bag while she goes with his father. Davina steps out, scanning the grounds. She notes the unexpected lack of visible security, no cameras, nothing to suggest the danger Mr. Angelini had just lectured her about. Mr. Angelini directs her inside, pointing her room out as they walk. He turns to Mikey, making it clear that from now on, Davina is his direct charge. Mikey protests, but Mr. Angelini is unyielding. Mikey clutches his drink, convinced his father is pushing him away from the family business. Mr. Angelini admits he never should have involved Mikey, prompting an angry, desperate response. Mikey gestures wildly, spilling his drink. He yells his hatred and runs, leaving a splattered mess on the floor. Davina watches Mikey go, then turns to Mr. Angelini, observing his attachment and the difficulty of his mother's absence. He acknowledges her observation, seeing his own mistake. She steps closer, her gaze sharp, asking if Mikey truly understands what his father does. The headlines tell their own story. Angelini's untouchable. Venice under Mafia thumb. Suspected Don walks again. She confirms she's read them. He takes a moment, then decides to speak plainly. He reveals his truth, a handgun appearing in his hand as if a symbol of his words. He is the underboss of the Angelini Mafia. He lives in a world of constant threat, with more enemies than he can count, and those enemies would do anything to get their hands on Mikey. Mikey, the heir to the Angelini name, is the most vulnerable target of all. Now the purpose of an elite nanny becomes clear. Davina will protect him with everything she has. Mr. Angelini seems satisfied with her answer. Davina, however, tries to expand her role, offering to manage his network or accounts. He dismisses her offers, insisting her focus must remain entirely on his son. Mr. Angelini leans in, his voice cutting through the tension, making the scope of her duty abundantly clear. Not let him out of her sight. He reminds her again of her immediate priority. Davina quickly picks up her pace, searching for Mikey. Then a cry from Mikey. Davina bursts into the doorway, startled by the sudden commotion. Two figures are forcing Mikey into the back of a van. She gives chase, calling his name in a desperate attempt to intervene. No way. She's left breathless, the van speeding away. A kidnapping. Davina stands alone, stunned by what has just happened. Her duty failed almost before it began. Davina stands alone, stunned, the silence broken only by the echo of the departing van. Then Mr. Angelini appears in a doorway, his face stern, his fists clenched at his sides. A hand reaches out, pressing down on a car door lock. Davina races toward a waiting car, the single word escaping her lips a measure of the emergency unfolding. Mr. Angelini meets her, demanding answers, and Davina delivers them with urgent precision. Masked kidnappers took Mikey from the driveway. He grabs her arm, his command absolute. She will go after them. She's already moving, reaching for her bag, demanding car keys with a determination that matches his own. Adam, Mr. Angelini's driver, appears, already aware of the situation, his surprised question hinting at a grim history. Davina slides into the passenger seat, already giving orders. They will find Mikey, and the police are to be called. Mr. Angelini leans in, his face close to hers, his words a cold warning about the consequences of failure. The car speeds away, tires kicking up dust, leaving the mansion behind. Inside, Adam asks for directions, but Davina is already focused on her laptop, scanning for a trace, directing him to drive straight until she finds one. She's using an automated license plate recognition system, typing quickly. A white van, its license plate clear, appears on the screen. Davina confirms the hit, the van's last known location just a minute ago, close by. Adam voices a suspicion, the chase feeling too easy, like a trap. Davina ignores his caution, giving precise turns, her eyes still on the screen. Now she's hacking into cell towers, her next step in locating the kidnappers. She explains the technical jargon to Adam, a dry humor in her voice as she admits she'll pretend to understand the nuances of MZ pings. The screen shows 3 active phones within a specific building. They've arrived. The white van is parked in an alley beside a red car. Davina instructs Adam to pull around to the front. Then she's out of the car, leaving him with a dismissive, yet cooperative, reply. She spots a guard, a professional security type, but notes the absence of a visible weapon. It's an unusual detail in a situation like this. Davina doesn't waste time with pleasantries, demanding entry and warning the guard of her training. When he refuses, she gives one last polite warning. Then the action begins, an elbow strike to his midsection. A sharp chop to the neck follows. The guard is down, the entrance secured. She moves swiftly into a professional kitchen, eyes scanning, picking up a metal tray. It becomes a tool in her hand. She finds a door and peers through a small window. Inside, Mikey sits tied on a sofa, flanked by 2 guards. Davina bursts in, the tray leading her charge. The 2 guards brace for impact. She swings, and one dodges the metal tray. But the next blow connects with brutal force. A high kick is blocked. She follows with a low sweep, and brings the tray down again, decisively. Looking back at the fallen guards, she assures Mikey it's almost over. She scoops him up, still tied, and moves quickly towards the exit. Adam is waiting outside, relief audible in his voice. Inside the car, Davina holds the boy tightly, the mission accomplished. In the safety of the car, Davina checks on Mikey, still bound by his ropes. He insists he's unharmed, unfazed by the ordeal. She quickly unties him, the last remnants of his capture falling away. Davina pulls him close, offering comfort that Mikey seems to accept, if only for a moment. From the front, the driver, Adam, looks back with an odd, almost theatrical regret. The shift in his demeanor is sudden. Davina's expression tightens. A warning she couldn't quite place a moment ago now makes sense. Adam raises a handgun, pointing it directly at them. The relief of escape vanishes in an instant. He lays out his terms, offering Davina $2 million from a briefcase in exchange for Mikey. He was never their ally. The realization hits Davina like a physical blow. Adam confirms it, explaining that the initial kidnapping was indeed a test orchestrated by Mr. Angelini. But this was his own opportunity. He points out that Mr. Angelini never lets Mikey out of his sight. Until today, and Adam intends to make them pay for that lapse. He tries to appeal to Davina's intelligence, urging her to take the money and walk away. Adam pushes the briefcase forward, demanding she take the deal. A hand slides across the laptop on the seat. Davina's defiance is absolute. Adam pulls the trigger, but Davina's fingers are already striking the laptop keyboard. The car lurches violently, swerving across the road. Adam is startled, his attention momentarily diverted by the sudden loss of control. His grip loosened, and the handgun falls, slipping from his grasp. Davina clutches Mikey close, screaming as the car lurches, throwing them both with violent force. She tumbles out of the still-moving vehicle, rolling hard onto the ground, Mikey still held tight against her. Then she is on her feet, running, Mikey safe in her arms. She keeps moving, whispering reassurance to him, even as her own breath comes in gasps. Ahead, a red car waits, familiar and still. She recognizes it. Adam, standing with Mr. Angelini, sees them approach. Mikey breaks free from Davina's grasp, running straight for Mr. Angelini, his small voice bright and clear. Mr. Angelini smiles down at his son, then looks to Davina. It was a test, all of it. Adam throws his hands up in defense, eager to explain his role in the charade. But Mr. Angelini's critique is sharp. Adam's failure to prevent the escape undermines the entire exercise. He turns to Davina, his tone cold, remarking on the unlocked doors as if it were a casual observation, not a calculated part of the ordeal. Mikey, unaware of the tension, simply describes his experience, praising Davina's speed and even her unexpected hug. Davina, however, is furious. She confronts Mr. Angelini directly, enraged that Mikey was involved and that her abilities were questioned at all. Mr. Angelini doesn't deny her skill. He needed to know her resolve, that she could not be bought or scared away. She looks away, her response absolute. She trusts no one, nothing. Mr. Angelini looks directly at her, then past her, as if speaking to the ghost that now stands behind him. His wife has been missing for a year. The police reports only tell part of the story. He holds up a blood-stained ring. His wife was murdered. Davina immediately looks to the boy. This is no conversation for a child to overhear, especially not in the open. A heavy hand on his head is the only cue Mikey needs. The command is quiet but absolute. Davina instantly shifts her tone, looking up at the massive estate to distract the boy from his father's dark mood. Her playful guesses spark an immediate, indignant protest from Mikey, breaking the heavy silence that lingered over them. She keeps teasing, searching for anything to get a genuine, childlike rise out of him. With a gentle tug, she steers him away, taking control of the boy's attention before the shadows of this house can reclaim it. But the master of the house dictates the schedule. The reprieve is temporary. Mr. Angelini watches them go. For a brief second, the stern facade slips. Adam watches from the car, offering his own dry assessment of the new nanny. In Mr. Angelini's world, there is no room for fragile things. If the test broke her, she was never going to survive the job. Adam's curiosity lingers on the details, a subtle hint at how closely he observes the women his boss brings into this circle. Inside, the stairs offer a quiet space away from the heavy atmosphere below, though Mikey remains deeply suspicious. Her playful threat is a deliberate choice, a way to build a bridge he cannot easily push away. Watching his small, defiant face, a wave of relief washes over her. He is still just a child, capable of being stubborn and small. The sign on the door is a quiet reminder of how temporary his life has felt lately. His small confession is a plea for safety. Behind the tough exterior, he is still holding onto the only home he remembers. Seeing his hesitation at the threshold, she gently offers him a way out. But Mikey isn't looking for pity, raising a small shield of indifference. Stepping inside, the professional habits of the academy take over. She scans the room, reading the space like a diagnostic report. First, the obvious coping mechanisms. A mountain of empty chocolate milk cartons on the table. Then the wardrobe. Rows of dark, identical formal suits, far too somber for a 4-year-old. And finally, the desk. A sketchbook left open to a drawing of his mother. She files the details away, mapping out exactly what this boy needs to heal. His defensiveness returns, blaming the housekeeper for the mess as if expecting to be scolded. Her warmth is a quiet challenge to his sour mood. He flinches from her hand. No one gets to play that role. She lowers her voice, meeting his gaze with absolute clarity. She isn't here to replace what he lost. She offers him control over the boundaries, letting him set the distance. He turns his back, retreating into the safe, familiar coldness. She breaks the tension with a ridiculous salute, refusing to let the heavy silence settle. With his marching orders received, she leaves him to his quiet room. Walking down the hall, her playful facade slips away. The kid is putting up a massive fight, but the hurt underneath is real. At the study door, she knocks, stepping back into the shadow of the underboss. Mr. Angelini has traded his heavy coat for a simple shirt, hunched over his laptop in the warm glow of the library. In the quiet of his office, the dangerous Mafia figure looks almost ordinary. Stepping back into the study, she keeps her report strictly professional. The child is safe in his room, and she needs to establish the boundaries of her duty. Mr. Angelini doesn't look up from his screen. He offers a dry concession, admitting he might have pushed her a bit too far during their first encounter. A bit, he calls a staged kidnapping a mild test. She drops the polite facade. If they are going to work together, she needs direct answers. She brings up his late wife, forcing him to face the reality of why she is really here. Because if someone was willing to go that far, the threat to the boy is far from over. He confirms her worst suspicions. As the official heir to the syndicate, Mikey is a walking target. This changes the terms entirely. Active Mafia warfare was never mentioned in the Academy's assignment brief. He bypassed the agency's screening. That means the leverage has just shifted in her favor. When he questions her readiness, she points out the obvious flaw in his plan. She is a fresh graduate, not a battle-hardened mercenary. He closes the distance between them, his voice dropping as he looms over her. He knew exactly who he was hiring. His intensity catches her off guard. Did he look into her past? Does he know about the secrets she is trying to uncover? Instead of pushing, he turns the negotiation back on her, inviting her to name her price. He assumes every person has a price, offering money or influence to keep her from walking away. But playing his game means letting him control the terms. She has to change the playing field. A house in Spain or political favors won't keep her alive if this house falls. She needs something far more valuable than currency. She looks him dead in the eye and makes her demand. If she is going to protect his son from the shadows, she needs access to everything he hides. He doesn't buy her sudden display of professional selflessness. In his world, everyone wants something, and a nanny offering to risk her life without a catch is simply a bad liar. Her frustration boils over. Survival is her only real currency, and she can't protect anyone if she's flying blind. He pauses, weighing the risk of letting her in. Some doors must remain locked, even from the person guarding his son. She plays along, giving him the easy lie he wants to hear. In truth, his business is the exact thread she needs to pull, but he spent too long reading people to let her off that easily. He turns back, pressing for the real price of her loyalty. She pivots, offering him a motivation that fits his cynical worldview. She reframes her demands as a transaction, a career move that makes sense to a man who only understands leverage. A perfect safety record in exchange for a spotless recommendation. It sounds reasonable, almost ordinary, but it's a shield to keep him from looking deeper. She even throws in a demand for her academy, Bremerton's lessons echoing in her mind. A good bluff needs to look like a long-term plan. He finds the smallness of her ambition almost amusing. For a Mafia underboss, a recommendation letter is a cheap price to pay for peace of mind. He agrees to her terms, placing a hand over his heart with mock solemnity. The deal is struck, but his promises always come with a price. The warmth leaves his eyes instantly. The negotiation is over, and the threat returns. The warning is whispered directly into her ear, cold and absolute. If she fails, there won't be enough of her left to write a review. He finishes the negotiation with an offer of a recommendation, a seemingly reasonable reward for a year of service. But the calmness in Mr. Angelina's expression vanishes in an instant, replaced by a cold, sharp warning. He moves in close, his whispered threat of physical invasion, a promise of unimaginable consequences should she fail. Her heart pounds. The heavy thud echoes in her ears. Then, just as suddenly, he pulls back, offering a chillingly polite dismissal. Davina stands alone in the quiet hallway, processing the absolute truth of his threat. He meant every word. The image of him looms, a chilling reminder of the slow, agonizing end he promised. In her eye, a glint of defiance emerges. An elite nanny doesn't break. As she gathers her luggage, Adam appears, offering to help with the bags. He makes a pointed remark about her heavy lifting, a casual acknowledgement of the ordeal she just survived, then confirms her new, long-term position. Adam offers practical advice, instructing her to explore the house, reminding her it's home for the next year. But a quick, knowing glance and a muttered caveat add another layer of unease. Davina finds herself unable to decipher Adam's intentions, his words a mix of encouragement and veiled warning. She begins to explore the opulent mansion, remarking on its palatial grandeur. Her path leads her outside, into the sunlit grounds, but her exploration is cut short by a familiar presence. Anthony, one of the men she took down in the kidnapping attempt, appears, offering an unsettling request for no hard feelings. Estate grounds are guarded by watchful eyes, a constant reminder of the world outside and Davina's limited freedom within it. Even the grand, formal gardens with their decorative fountains feel cold and uninviting, especially for a child. Davina surveys the expansive space, assessing it through the lens of her new role. The thought solidifies quickly. She will need to find a way to take Mikey to a real park, somewhere he can actually play. Her attention shifts indoors, a quiet determination settling in as she seeks out her own designated space. She moves to unpack, realizing her laptop needs charging. But her bag comes up empty. It hits her, she knew exactly where it was. She left it in the car. A quick glance outside confirms her fear. The car is gone, off for detailing with Adam. Mr. Angelini appears in the doorway, cutting through her mounting frustration with a dinner invitation. Davina politely accepts, making a mental note to retrieve her laptop from Adam later. She offers to bring Mikey down, but Mr. Angelini dismisses the idea. His son has chosen to eat in his room tonight. It raises a quiet concern in Davina, a question about how often this happens. Lately, Mr. Angelini confirms, it happens often. Davina begins to explain, citing Mikey's recent upheavals. A new home, a new caretaker, and the raw grief of loss. But Mr. Angelini cuts her off, his patience thin. He knows his son, he states, and doesn't need Davina to explain Mikey's feelings to him. Her role, he clarifies, is solely to worry about Mikey's safety, nothing more. Davina acknowledges the boundary. Upstairs, Mikey lies alone in his room, looking up at the ceiling, playing by himself. Davina pauses in the hallway, a quiet sound or a sudden thought catching her attention. The realization hits Davina hard. Mikey was listening to their conversation. He heard all of it. Later, Davina sits at the formal dining table, a plate of pasta before her. The atmosphere is already heavy. Mr. Angelini sits at the far end, the long table emphasizing the distance and silence between them. The quiet stretches, growing into something almost physical. Davina tries to break the spell, remembering her training. Small talk, she decides, is the only way forward. His reply is immediate and brief. Davina shifts her approach, asking the real question. She lays out the obvious implications of his presence in Lyon. Her words hang in the air, a clear challenge to his nonchalance. He offers a small, knowing smirk. Davina watches him, wondering at his casual disregard for the danger. Doesn't he know he's putting Mikey at risk? Davina decides to push the topic. She asks about his goals for Mikey, and Mr. Angelini seems caught off guard by the question. Davina offers a few suggestions, trying to prompt him. He hesitates, looking away. Davina notes the pause. Davina wonders at the cause of his silence. He promises to think about it, mentioning the expectations that come with being an Angelini. The sudden movement of a maid catches Davina's eye. Something about it feels off. This whole house, Davina thinks, is strange. The staff move like ghosts, barely seen, and she knows only Adam, the driver. She wonders why she's the only one at the table with Mr. Angelini. Perhaps it's an empty gesture of welcome for her first night. She decides to play along and asks about Mikey's usual routine. Mr. Angelini explains that he normally takes Mikey to work with him. Then, his voice sharp, he declares that it ends now. He dismisses the maid, Julia, from the room. Now I've done it. Mr. Angelini stands abruptly, his chair scraping loudly as he commands her to follow. Davina tries to speak, but he cuts her off with a single sharp word. Outside, he calls to Antoni, who steps forward from the darkness. Antoni, the bodyguard who had kidnapped Mikey, looms behind her, silent. A hand grips Davina's arm, guiding her. He leads her through the garden, deeper into the night. Davina attempts to apologize, but he looks down at her, his expression unyielding. He rejects her words, stepping closer, leaving her startled and confused by his aggression. Her fear grows as she tries to grasp the meaning behind his actions. He leans in, his voice a low, intense command. Davina is left alone in the garden, hugging herself, shaken, as Antoni watches from the shadows. Mr. Angelini holds Davina's gaze, his body still close, and finally begins to answer her question about Mikey's future. He has one goal. Before he can say what it is, Adam's voice cuts through the night. Mr. Angelini turns, his frustration clear as he mutters under his breath. Adam explains the urgent situation. Trouble in District 3 already. The moment is broken, the secret left unsaid. Mr. Angelini dismisses Davina with a promise to finish their conversation later. What was he going to say? Suspicion thrives in the dark corners of this house, where even a child is not safe from accusation. An imposing shadow looms over Mikey in his own bedroom. The unseen interrogator presses him, demanding to know if he has been stealing from his own family. A hand reaches out, seizing his stuffed penguin to force an answer. Then the door swings open. Davina steps into the gloomy room, breaking the heavy silence. Mikey immediately turns defensive, insisting he is busy and demanding to eat breakfast alone. Instead of pushing, Davina leans in with a sly grin, teasingly asking if he is afraid to eat human food. She leans closer, deadpan, accusing him of being a vampire. She lists the evidence. He avoids the sun, hides his fangs, and refuses company. Mikey is too young to hide his frustration as he protests. He snaps that he simply does not want to eat with her. That is all she needed to hear. Davina cheerfully surrenders the kitchen, leaving him with no excuse to starve himself. With a mock salute, she leaves him to his victory. Left alone, Mikey can only grumble at his stuffed penguin. Downstairs, Davina congratulates herself on surviving the first morning shift. On the empty plate, a crude face drawn in leftover sauce stares back at her. Quiet compromise. He ate, even if he had to leave a protest behind. The domestic quiet is short-lived. A sudden throat clearing behind her cuts through the silence of the kitchen. Before Davina can savor her small victory, a sharp voice cuts through the quiet of the kitchen. Bremerton stands in the doorway, her posture rigid, instantly establishing her authority over the space. Davina offers a polite smile, keeping her tone light as she explains she'll be handling Mikey's meals from now on. Bremerton eyes the spotless counter, offering only a dry, begrudging compliment on her cleanliness. The older woman reaches for the mocha pot, her sharp eyes scanning Davina's tired face as she asks how she slept. Davina doesn't hide her restlessness. The feeling of being watched in this house doesn't wash off with a night's sleep. She tries for a casual follow-up, asking if anyone has seen her missing laptop. Bremerton scoffs, dismissing the question with a classic lecture on modern technology. The tension spikes instantly as Mr. Angelini enters. his low voice demanding his morning coffee and scattering the easy dynamic. Davina goes completely still. There is no ignoring the shift in the air when he walks into a room. He doesn't acknowledge her presence, treating her as if their intense encounter in the garden last night never happened. He catches her staring, leaning back with a cool, challenging look that practically dares her to speak up. She chooses professionalism instead, offering a stiff excuse to go check on Mikey and slipping away. Walking down the quiet hallway, the questions keep turning in her mind. He was on the verge of telling her something crucial about his son before they were interrupted. Even Mikey's small, angry outbursts from earlier echo, with the cold reality of the family he's being raised in. With Mr. Angelini occupied downstairs, Davina realizes she has a rare window of opportunity. It doesn't take her long to locate her missing computer, sitting exactly where she hoped it would be. Opening the lid, she bypasses the official files to look for the things his public biography conveniently left out. It is time to find out exactly what kind of man she is working for. The screen confirms what the public records omit. The Angelini family has held Venice in a tight grip for nearly a century. Davina digs deeper, looking past the official histories and into the darker forums where the family's real movements are tracked. The online chatter is thick with hostility. The local syndicates do not want Venetian blood on their turf. They have only been in the country for a month, and the list of people wanting them gone is already growing. She wonders what could possibly be worth stepping into this kind of crossfire. A sudden shout from down the hall shatters her focus. She snaps the laptop shut, slipping back into the role of the dutiful employee. Following the noise, she finds the source of the commotion in the nursery. Mikey is sitting in the middle of a mess of clothes, frantically searching for his favorite tie for an overnight trip. He actually thinks he is going with his father. Gently, Davina kneels down, trying to ease him into the reality that he is staying behind. But Mikey spits out the details of the meeting with terrifying precision, naming the Croatian syndicate and their hold on the French smuggling routes. A chill runs through her. How does a child this young know these names? He talks about being an asset, a tactical distraction to make his father look less dangerous. It is a calculated, chilling piece of logic for a toddler. He grabs her hands, pleading for an ally to help him plead his case. When Mr. Angelini appears at the door to say his goodbyes, Mikey immediately stands his ground, bag in hand. The underboss shuts it down instantly. The Croatians are his problem, and Mikey is staying exactly where he is. Mikey tries leveraging his uncle's name, desperate for any authority that might sway his father. But Mr. Angelini does not even turn around. The decision is final, and the boy is dismissed before the argument can even begin. The underboss shifts the burden of Mikey's safety entirely to Davina with a quiet, heavy command. She realizes this is her only window to secure a tactical advantage. Before he can step away, she stops him, matching his cold, professional distance. Mikey watches silently, his young face tight with a gravity no 4-year-old should carry. She demands access to the mansion's security systems, framing it as a basic requirement for her job. Mr. Angelini defers the request. He will not hand over the keys to his castle so easily, leaving the question hanging until his return. With his father gone, Mikey retreats, the quiet click of the door marking his defeat. Davina tries to soften the blow with a light, practiced smile, but the boy's shoulders are already shaking. He doesn't want her pity or her corporate-trained optimism. The anger boils over, raw and tearful, as he screams at her to leave him alone. She gently explains that they are both bound by his father's rules, offering a promise of safety and distraction. But Mikey sees right through it. To him, safety is just a gentler word for uselessness. The door slams shut, cutting off any chance of comfort. His final words linger in the empty hallway. Left alone in the quiet house, Davina realizes she understands that feeling far too well.